Going. Oh, hello, everybody. Welcome, everybody. I'm so excited to have you. I was sitting writing some notes about a podcast of the launching that I was already done, but I am about to hit record. And I thought, why not go live at the same time? So we are rocking it live. We are streaming into my private Facebook group. We are streaming via Instagram as well. And then we're clicking record for the audio file tomorrow. So everyone that is joining me, hello, good morning. It is a Wednesday here in Melbourne. And in Australia, we've had an unofficial public holiday. So most of us have kicked back at work today. My kids have gone back to school for term 2 today, and it's just nuts. So I'm trying to get everything done and I'm really excited. So hello, everybody. I am grateful to have you all here. First of all, let me know how your weekend was. What was the best part about your weekend? And if you could bottle up one part of that weekend, what would you bottle up? And how would you sprinkle that all over every single day to bring that magic? That is what is important. So it is really exciting to bring presence to your day as well. So I'm coming in because today I am going to talk to you. What does your part 2 sound like or story look like? What does your part 2 feel like? Now, it can be really difficult to try and imagine your dreams, try and imagine a place that feels free, that doesn't feel clunky, that doesn't feel cloudy, that doesn't feel hard when you're in a space where you feel that perhaps it's not right for you. You can't get there. You don't know the how, especially if you're a practical person, if you're a people pleaser and a perfectionist. Similarly to me, if you're an analytical sort of a person, you sort of have these ideas and you think, okay, well, I'm not a creative person, so I've written it in my book, so I've got to stick to it. Now, success may mean different things to everybody, but when you write it all down and you're an analytical person and you are a person that is driven by results, it is very difficult to find the gap in between where you're growing and the crunchy parts that lead you from struggle to success. Now, success means everything to somebody different. It might mean completing projects. For a lot of us, and especially for me, it is driven by financial. So I felt successful throughout my corporate career because I was bringing in money, I was achieving goals, I was hitting KPIs, I was hitting every mark and going above and beyond. And I moved through the ranks and I managed to travel and I managed to speak to different people. But it's very different when you break it down into personal and small business world, especially when you're in a space that is coming from a heart space. It can be very difficult to feel like you are successful. Now, if you transfer this into being a mother as well, it can be really difficult. Your kids might be going through a growth spurt. You might have 2 kids who are boys, who are 7 and 11, and they have different growth spurt patterns. Okay, now speaking from experience here, one of my sons is an emotional. So he gets very emotional, very withdrawn, and then he grows. On the other hand, I have a typical boy who eats me out of the house and home and then will grow. But it's being a part of that. What do you feel is being successful? What does success mean for you? Perhaps in your relationships, what does a successful relationship look like for you? And I'm going to have a chat about that today as well. I'm going to reference a lot to the Confident Woman because I've done a lot of work over the last 6 months developing this program. I've also done a lot of work over the last 2 years implementing these ideas, these structures, these processes, these workbooks into my life. And that is what has helped me navigate what I consider to be one of the most tumultuous times in my life. Come out the other side, everything is amazing now, but it's taken a lot of work and it is essentially bottled up into 4 modules. So I will speak a lot about the Confident Woman today, more so around the references to it. As we speak about success as women, as we want to feel contributing, as we want to feel like we're making a difference, as we want to feel more than just someone who is constantly picking up after everybody else, looking after everybody else. Sometimes all we want is to be taken care of, but have we actually taken responsibility to voice that? Have we actually taken responsibility to voice that to the people that we love, our kids, our families, our workplaces? So that is what today's little chat is. So welcome. If you haven't been able to catch this, I'm going to drop the link to the Spotify, the Awaken Woman podcast, because this is where it's going to go and it's going to be an amazing listen. So as you're listening today, you may think, and as I said at the top of this, we're in an end of an unofficial public holiday. So today feels like a Monday. The kids have gone back to school. Perhaps you're feeling like you're back into autopilot mum. Perhaps you felt release over the last 4 days. Perhaps you were able to connect over the school holidays. Or were you so busy filling up your days to feel like you are a good mum, to feel like you are successful, to feel that you are giving your kids every opportunity, when in fact all they probably wanted to do was stay home. Perhaps all they wanted to do was have a few pajama days, but you perhaps let your guilt take over. You thought you needed to give them everything in order for them to be happy. But have you asked what happiness means? Now, before you can ask your partner what happiness means, before you ask your kids what happiness means, before you ask your team or your workplace what does happy feel, you need to ask yourself first and foremost. When you start rewriting your second chapter, when you start rewriting part 2, you must start rolling up everything that you've known in a ball and begin again. It's like you are reliving a new life with the same eye, with different eyes, but everything feels familiar. And that's where confidence comes in, and that's where bravery comes in, especially for women as we start to unravel perhaps generational trauma, perhaps motherhood, perhaps who we want to be. And inside the Confident Woman, I'm not going to ask the questions here. There are some very direct and deep questions you need to ask yourself, but also get your kids to ask you. Because when you start to involve people in your journey, when you start to allow people to come into the development world of you, to break the molds, to break the chains, to feel different than you've ever felt before, you're going to need to be vulnerable, and you're going to have to release the need for you to feel like you are failing. Because once you start unraveling and you pull the thread, you know, in this orange cardigan, if I pulled the thread, the whole world or the whole jumper would fall apart. But what I'm saying to you is this: if you pulled that thread but allowed people to help you reknit that jumper, what would that feel like? Rather than you pulling the thread, you're left with a whole heap of yarn and it all gets too hard and you fall into your patterns. So first and foremost, you need to understand, or from yourself, are you firstly willing to go deep into this world? Are you fully committing into developing your mind, your body, your soul, so you can be better, so you can attract better, so you can have more? Okay, it's more than being seen, heard, and loved. It is soulful connections on every platform of your body. Okay, and it's not just working on yourself in a little hidden bubble and then continuing life on the outside as you normally would. The changes need to be receptive in areas. Okay, and that is why in the Confident Woman we break the module down into 4 modules. And it's not that we start at relationships, we don't start at motherhood, we start at you. Because unless you have your foundation, unless you have your confidence story, unless you have awareness and a reality check on essentially who you are, what you actually want, and what stories are you showing up with every day, unless you give yourself permission to dream, what does that mean? And that is what is really, really important. The second part of this is when you set that foundation of who you are, when you set the foundation of what your stories mean, when you give yourself permission to dream, and it's not saying, yeah, okay, I'll give it a go. It's going in. It's going all in on unraveling a story you've been holding for 30, 40, 50 years. And it's going further into, that's interesting, that's curious, that's amazing, and you're not judging yourself. That is what rewriting your part 2 is. It's giving yourself the permission to stop essentially sitting with your shoulders constantly upright, anticipating stress, anticipating all of the hardships. And that's allowing yourself to sink into a feeling of, oh, this doesn't feel right, but that it's not permanent, that you are able to move on. And once you set your foundation straight, once you take responsibility and you've decided that you are willing to rewrite your soulful journey from part 2, you then can take the next step up from that foundation block of, okay, what does my relationship look like? In order for me to be seen, heard, loved, respected, and literally be taken care of as a strong, independent woman, what does that look like for me? Now, if you're someone who is like me, you're going to find that being taken care of is going to be icky. Essentially, it's going to make you feel like you are failing and that you are weak. Now, it's not that in case, it's just the stories in your head and perhaps what you've grown up with, your stories you've inherited, what your experiences is, or what your relationship experiences from your parents, from your grandparents, from those around you. That is what you are going to experience in your current reality. Now, once you've taken that responsibility and you've communicated that with your partner, that is when you get to build and flourish and grow. And it's allowing that to come in. It's being confident to speak your needs. It's being confident to be speaking your needs and actually being heard, not just listened to, because everyone listens to noise every day. It's actually being heard. Now, it's going to take a long time for that, especially if your partner is brand new or you are also brand new to personal development, because the minute that you start talking about this, it can feel like a personal attack. And that is why we encourage, when my clients, I encourage you to bring people along for the journey. What I mean by that is when you sign up to be the Confident Woman, we get you in on a brand new program, so to speak, and it is a one-on-one with me. So that is the bonus that is coming into this month, into May, April and May as well, is that we start to write the process, because unless you have the techniques, unless you have the voice and the etiquette perhaps, or eloquence of speaking and getting people involved, you're going to feel like you're butting heads with people because they don't understand where you're coming from. They think you're personally attacking them. But instead, you're actually wanting them just to hear you and take a look. But it can be something that can hurt the ego, because we all want to think that we're good and we never ever want to face up to areas of our life that we want to grow into. So that is why when you enroll into the Confident Woman, there is a bonus worth $400 that we kick off straight away, because it's that forward planning. I know that as busy mums, we need to have structure, we need to have processes. Now, structural processes doesn't mean it's back to back. It's a chat that lets you feel like you can voice all your venting out. We get it out on paper. And it means that your mind's clear. And that means that I can share with you some tips on how to welcome people into your journey. It's about how do you let your kids know what's going on? How do you ask questions of your kids and actually hear their honest feedback, that they're not holding back as well? And that is what is really important, because at the end of the day, we're rewriting us. So who do we want to be in part two? Okay, there's no point of us wanting to start a part two unless we are willing to break all the chains that it hooks up with. And that is what is so important. Okay, that is why the Confident Woman is for you. That is why the Confident Woman has taken so long to get to this point. It's because I've had to make sure it's working. And it's worked because of how far I've come. Myself, my relationships, my relationship with my kids, the importance I have of raising two emotionally intelligent young men into this world and what that means for future generations, what my legacy as a boy mum means, and in having men that are emotionally intelligent enough to speak. That's something that's really important to me. I want my boys to understand what a strong, independent woman is. I want my boys to understand this is what making myself a priority looks like. Okay, yes, I'm giving. Yes, I'm nurturing. Yes, I'll take care of you. But this is what it takes for me to be the best version of me. This is what it takes. This is what I do. And that is the most empowering part, is when you can finally feel like you have cracked that mold of parenting, in a sense that you're not fighting your kids for them to understand you. You're also not fighting your partner for them to understand you. And this is something that's taken a little longer as well. Sorry. Okay, that is what is really important, because once we understand where we fit in and how we are understood, we feel like we don't need to pretend anymore. We feel like we can drop that mask, and we feel that we can be so organically raw that it's okay to be silly, that it's okay to share what you weren't, that it's okay for you to hear something on TV, radio, that is so deeply raw, and you sit there and think, that's interesting that that happened, that you can have a conversation with your partner about. Okay, it's about dropping that mask and for them to feel that they can help you, because at the end of the day, it takes a lot to love and see and hear an independent, strong woman. It takes a lot for a masculine man to take care of a woman who is so self-assured, so assertive, so strong, and has been doing that her whole life. She doesn't know any different. Okay, and if she changes, she's going to feel like a failure. So how does a masculine energy man take care of that situation? How do you balance the two? How do you balance the ego? How do you balance the dynamic? That is what the confident woman does, because it's allowing your flower to grow. You're not having to take care and close everything in. You are now the center of that flower rather than being the outside. Instead of you sitting on the outside, holding it all together, hoping that a windy day doesn't come and you open, fall everywhere. It's about you now being in the center and having everything else enclosed around you, feeling safe, feeling warm, feeling nurtured, feeling seen, heard, and loved. But that's only because you've allowed yourself, you've trusted yourself that you're going to be okay if someone else takes something for you, if someone else helps you, that it's okay if it's not perfect. Okay, it's okay if it doesn't get done today. Okay, it's all that opinion, that judgment, that thought, that hard work that you placed in your head that is stopping you from where you are now to where you want to be. In the middle of where you are now, in struggle, in hard, in autopilot mum, you're presenting as you, but you're a zombie and dead inside, to the version of you who is so deeply connected, who feels loved and respected and seen and heard in her relationships, who has passion and intimacy like you've never had, who is so deeply present in her relationship with her children, and who has finally sought freedom from the shackles you have placed around yourself here. What's in between? People's thoughts, people's opinions that you think they hold on you. So you're stopping yourself from going here. You're here, you're stopping yourself from getting here because you're worried about what people are going to think. Because you're worried about, what if you change? What's going to happen? We don't know. We don't know what's going to happen in between here and here. But isn't it worth giving that a crack? Isn't it worth going from left to right rather than sticking in left? And that is what you need to take a chance on. So let me ask you this from a parenting point of view. If your child came to you and said, Mum, I don't feel right. I want to dream. I want to go for this massive goal. I want to join the team. I need to get better. What are you going to say to them? Nah, darling, stay where you are because it's safer. None of us have done that sort of stuff before. I don't know how to support you. You're better off just letting someone else who may be better than you. Don't worry about your dream, doll. Don't worry about it. It's not worth it. Really? No, you're going to sit there and go, okay, let's talk about it. What do you want to do? When do you want to do it? How are we going to get there? And then you're going to pick up the phone or jump on Google and you're going to work out a plan to get your child from where they want to be, from where they are to where they want to be. Now, why are you not doing that for you? Why are you living in a constant contradiction? In between your left hand and your right hand, you are filling it up with shit that just doesn't matter. In between your left and right hand is busyness, because you're scared to actually take a look at what your life looks like. You're comparing yourself to others' relationships because they're lucky. Their husband helps. You're so lucky your husband takes care of you. No more. You're judging people. You're judging your kids against other kids. You're saying it's easier for other people than for you. Stop filling your life with shit that does not matter because you're scared of looking in the mirror. Now, if that has been confronting for you, you're welcome. And welcome to the confident woman. You are never going to get the changes you need to see in your life unless you're willing to look in the mirror and say, I think I need help. If you don't need help and your life is running like a well-oiled machine, you feel so deeply represented, respected, loved, your kids are like angels, your job is a dream, then you don't need me at all. You don't. I'm not at that enlightened stage either. But let me tell you this, for you to get from left hand to right hand is not a 16-year project, okay? It is an easy project if you're willing to cut the crap out in between. If you're willing to stop the crap that you are telling yourself, you do have time. The confident woman is asking you for 10 minutes a day. 10 minutes a day. Go on your phone and look at your screen time average and then tell me you don't have time. How much have you spent on TikTok, Insta, Snapchat, Facebook? 10 minutes a day. It's a no-brainer. It's literally plugging in your earphones, your headphones, and filling out a workbook that I've already done for you. It's listening. And then applying that to your everyday life, applying that to your motherhood journey, your kids, to your partner, to your workplace. Okay. So you do have time. That gets rid of that excuse. You do have the money. There's always a way to figure something out. I am not a tyrant when it comes to that. I understand the challenges the world has at the moment. I understand that it's not easy for everyone and it may not be accessible. But have you asked the question of what is accessible and what is available to you in your circumstances? If you're sitting there going, I can't afford it, have you actually asked the question of what could you afford? And am I willing, is Claire willing to come to the table? Have you? Because if you haven't asked, you're going to miss the opportunity. So you do have time. You do have resources. What if your family don't agree? What if your partner doesn't agree? Well, are you really a priority in your own life, or are you just a victim of your excuses? Because if you're not going to make yourself a priority, I'm sorry, I'm not the coach for you. I'm not here to sell you into something and to let you fail. I'm here to work with you to create a long-term strategy that is going to affect everyone in your life, including you, including your family, including your partner. So they're the prerequisites with working for me, or with me, and for me. You must make yourself a priority. If you do not make yourself a priority, then I don't want to know you. I'm sorry. So I'm not here to save people. I am here to work with people to make them feel confident and empowered, and that they make the change in this living existence, that their legacy is emotional intelligence, respect that they are passing on. That is what they're going to be known for when they're 80. I'm not here to make you feel fluffy and good and pull you out of your hole. You need to be willing to do that yourself first. So that's first and foremost. Okay, make yourself a priority. Find your 10 minutes a day. And then if you still say you can't afford it, then let's chat, because there are ways which I don't advertise and I don't put out publicly. I have clients that I've worked with on different processes and plans and payment details, because that's the human that I am. That's the gift that I have. That is how passionate I am about what I do. Okay, so if this is something, if the confident woman is something that you want to do, and two of those three things are ticked, then come to me and say, Claire, DM me now, say, Claire, I need help. But this is my honest truth. And we'll come to the party, we'll look. Okay, like I said, for everyone who enrolls through May is a $400 bonus of a one-on-one with me, which we do at the start, just before we kick off the Confident Woman. And that gets us in a really nice, comfy groove. So you know where I'm at. We draw up a plan, and that is how you can't fail. That is how we ensure massive success within the Confident Woman. More than 8 weeks. This is a lifetime experience, which I'm excited to present. So I hope that you have loved every part of this. To those that have joined, thank you so much. Those that are listening on the podcast, you're welcome. I've really enjoyed seeing you all. For those that have been commenting live on Facebook and Insta, I will come back now and say hi. And I'm really excited to see you. So what are you willing to do to be the confident woman? What does your part 2 sound like? Because if you don't make yourself a priority and you don't find 10 minutes a day, what are you doing? What are you doing? Are you walking into a proven system, or are you just going to fluff through life? That is what we need to look at as well. So ladies, thank you for joining and listening. I cannot wait to see and hear you all really soon, and we'll chat. Bye guys.